Um, is a like you get like as far as structured stuff goes, you get people coming in for their Sunday service and they hang out. They might have some small groups or something like that, but I don't know. I got a lot more interested, and I remember hearing one time about someone talk about you're going to the like Old Testament stuff, and or they may have been jumping around, but they were talking about these different ideas or these different wordings of I think like God taking the perspective of something like there was somebody speaking, and it was like talking about like the birth of wisdom or something like that, and it was like, of course this is horribly butchered because I can't remember all the different facets of it, but it was very interesting in the way that this person was painting this picture is that the sense they got is that existence was a process. Like it wasn't a closed system just to be like, oh, that was fun. The reason for it being started had the specific purpose of being catalytic for something else. And it was like, I mean, that might seem obvious to some people who are interested in that sort of theology or whatever, but I don't know. It's like, I know I'm being horribly, horribly vague with specifics, but
yeah, I'm following.
Just that sort of I don't know, just thinking about stuff. It's like taking these what I think is purposefully abstract and sort of ambiguous and sometimes paradoxical or contradictory like bits of scripture and just meditating on them for a while.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is really interesting because like even the way you describe that is fitting with my new kind of image of NI. Is you're figuring out, you're like, yeah, this is not specific. You're like, I understand that it's that reading between the lines.
Yeah, and so something I had thought of
versus like my NE, like I was thinking about houses, like I look at something and I go, here's all the possibilities, and it's almost a finite set of possibilities, but I'm like, but that's the best I'm gonna be able to do. You're like it's like you guys want to draw this like specific thing. I'm like, all I can really admit to is that this set of possibilities and that set of possibilities kind of suggests this particular pattern. Like it suggests you're kind of like in like an NI-ish conclusion, but that still just exists as part of the whole set. Like I don't actually go there. It's like this seems like the most likely kind of vaguish gist of this, but that's about as far as. Yeah, it's like that's all I can give it to here.
Yeah.
Like you guys are drawing way too many conclusions here.
Yeah. I had an interesting thought recently where I sort of backed out from the particulars because it's like growing up, it's like you heard particulars of like, oh, it's gonna like I grew up in sort of Protestant Christianity where it's like, people around me, like I got raised to believe in the rapture, I got raised to believe in a literal hell, all these different facets. It's like pretty much everything in the good book was literal. It happened. Every word is factual. All that different stuff.
Whichever translation you're reading from at the moment.
Yeah, right. It was a very, very ultimately tea-seeking, but tea-lacking approach.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we are going to agree as a group that this has consistency and factual priority.
Right.
Yeah, which I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can smell the problem from me just saying that. But no, it's like I like recently I thought of something after I'd been sort of backed away from it for quite a while now. But no, I was thinking about all this different stuff because it's like I was obsessed with hell, especially when I was younger, because I was convinced I was going there. But was it no, like the thought I'd had recently was you don't get a whole lot of people talking about hell on earth, and I mean more specifically within ourselves. Like I started to think about that whole concept, like outer darkness or things like that, or being in separation. I started thinking about like, okay, well, how does that happen interpersonally with us? Or like, how is that existing right now? If I were to really tap into things in terms of like NI or something like that, and use this as a metaphor, what can I get from this? What can I draw from this? And it's like we have it's like I was thinking about the the separation or outer darkness thing, as I said. Now I'm trying to remember some of the particulars of it, or the gist of it rather. It's like because like I had pondered what it would be like to be separate and be in a consistent state of want, like as in needing something, needing some sort of need to be met, and being in a place where it'll never be met. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm not thinking about that literally and I'm thinking about that as a metaphor, that's how I feel in the moment whenever there is a strong need that's not going to get met. When I do feel hopeless, that, oh, I'm going to be stuck feeling this way, that's the feeling I'm having, is a feeling of separation, a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of things aren't going to get solved. However, pretty much the antidote to that is some sort of hope, some sort of sense that there even could be a possibility that I could, that I could change, or that I could, and when I say change, I mean that my mood could change, that things could get better, that there's even a possibility of winning in some way, or getting that met. Change how, better than what, winning what things. I said, needs or whatnot, whether it be emotional needs, or something like that, whether it be physical needs.
Yeah, I think your definition of being at a point where whatever hopelessness seems, you're stuck in a bad place. Where, like, I think that's a good generalization of kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
The definition. Yeah, that's. What you're saying, basically what you're talking about, like what the solution, like in my personal experience, like that's the point where faith, or whatever you want to call it, is the thing that fixes it. It's the hope that even though you don't seem to have the solution or see the possibility, that doesn't mean that the solution doesn't exist. Or will come about. Something like that. And I had to figure that out the hard way, but that's
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in that place, and that's all that got me out of that place, honestly. And I didn't realize I needed that thing until I got to that place, and I'm like, wow, that was, I'm glad that was there. I didn't realize it was actually there, but it was there.
Oh. And so I think in some ways I'd like to go back and like actually like read through you know, well, like the Bible and other things and stuff like that with a primarily metaphorical approach, because I think there's I mean I really enjoyed it apart from the sort of literal concepts, because if you just start tapping into that, shit gets depressing real quick.
Yeah.
And it's like counterproductive to what to what it's supposedly supposed to be advocating or delivering.
Yeah, I don't say it's like I would almost take it to be a work of FE that probably needs to be successful, in an attempt to get to some sort of NI. It's not a TI thing. It isn't. If you look at it, and I think that's one of these people try to go TI. Well, they try to go TE on it. Is what they want.
I think, and
I think immediately from this, and you're like, well, you're not giving. That's no.
At the expense of sounding elitist. I kind of feel like I've had a lot of different like spiritual things explained to me in a very sort of censor thinker sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of feel like some of these different spiritual texts is more or less like INFJ the book. It's like some sort of
it's probably meant to be read by INFJs.
It's like most ENTPs will fill them as a means to keep talking. Have you noticed it? Blanks to fill in? Well, yeah, my focus isn't giving you the answers to the blanks. Like if me bantering gives ENTPs blanks to fill in, then I think that's probably how it ought to work. Too open? Yeah.
I think you do a pretty good job. Like you'll keep going and you don't just like leave it open all the time. A proper opening, you actually are like not about to say anything usually. I think ENTPs will jump in probably in places where you didn't intend us to.
Yeah, I mean, like if it seems too open, then you can jump in and try to tie it down just a bit, and I can try to keep it moving more in a cohesive direction, or something like that. But it's one of the great benefits of having an amorphous mind, of just having a focus on being out of focus so that you can focus on the thing behind what everybody else is focusing on. I swear to God that ties to something. That there's something you can do when your eyes aren't focused. I swear. Something.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm sure that there's some sort of tying. He's any shave the person who comments once. So.
I'm basically heading up a team that's getting Africans together in this time of need for Norway, helping them out. A lot of people aren't aware what's going on there right now.
I'm excellent at that.
It's kind of just as bad as poverty, if you ask me. Sunlight puts smiles on people's faces. People don't ignore starving people, so why should we ignore cold people?
I leave it too open, and the conversation takes shape.
We need to make a difference
the person
in Norway.
Who comments
we need
once.
to collect our radiators, ship them over there, and spread some warmth, spread some light, and spread some smiles.
If you close
Say
the chat,
yes to radiate.
The person commenting does not change the conversation.
I think they were speaking more to me and you conversing.
In Norway gets a freezing. It's can